created by millions of lines of crufty COBOL, maybe those aren't properly representing the data. So it then gets very surreal. Although you question the firm's security systems, I consider the audit trail provided is in a format utilised by several major banks and therefore can be relied upon. So what does this mean? Does this mean that it's in ASCII, and lots of banks use ASCII, so it's right? And just because several banks are using it doesn't mean it's any good. They then go on to say that although you have requested this information, security details, from the bank yourself, and I consider it's not obliged to provide it to you, I conclude that this will not make any difference because this service has already reviewed this information. So basically they're saying that we are judge and jury, we're not going to show you the evidence necessary to clear yourself, but we found you guilty. And this feels a lot more like a kangaroo court than an independent ombudsman. And then they said, as we've already advised you, since the advent of chip and PIN, the service is not aware of any incidents where a card with a chip has been successfully cloned by fraudsters so that it could be used for them successfully in a cash machine. Well, I just gave a demonstration twice on television where this is possible. And the end, my conclusion, therefore, is that it is likely that the original card was used to carry out the transaction that disputed by you, i.e. you can't get your money back. This is, as things go, a fairly good situation. We've also heard of people who have disputed a transaction and gone to the bank, and the bank said, we think you're working with a fraudster, and then sent the police on them. And there are at least 2 court cases going ahead at the moment where a victim of fraud has been charged with participating in the fraud. So in summary, I've demonstrated a few problems with chip and PIN. Some are fairly easy to fix by upgrading from the simpler static data authentication to the slightly more expensive dynamic data authentication, but others are harder. The relay attack cannot be fixed with the existing hardware. But the root cause of all these problems is that when there is fraud, the bank is able to pass the cost from rather being the fraudster or rather than them who choose to go for the insecure system onto the customer. And that's simply not fair. So what's needed is a change in culture that the banks are considered liable for fraud, and this is roughly how it is in the US, and they are liable for the losses. And this is the right thing to do because they are the only people in the position to improve the security. So if they think that relay attacks are a serious problem, then you can deploy fixes against this. Maybe it's best for them to just deploy intrusion detection systems and check whether you're making a transaction in the UK and then a few seconds later in Malaysia. But since they are the only ones who have access to this information, they should be the ones who are liable for the cost of fraud. So, thanks for your attention. If you've got any questions. Anyone have questions? Yes, one couple over there. You use the microphone, please.
I have 2 questions, at least one, depending on your answer, probably a second question. If you can switch back to the slide where you showed the nonce exchange and the 1-bit challenge response exchange.
This one?
Yes, exactly. So the nonce sent by the card, what is this actually for? What it is doing on the terminal?
The 2 nonces are combined along with the key using a cryptographic message authentication code in order to generate the contents of the shift register. The card sends a nonce because if it didn't, then a malicious verifier could ask it to do a transaction twice. So it sends one nonce, runs the protocol, gets all the ones, runs it again and gets all the zeros. Okay. The card nonce makes sure that this can't happen.
So the nonce sent by the card at least influences the sequence of bits challenged on the real card then?
Yeah, the 2 things are combined, put in the shift register, and then that's the responses.
Okay. What's the timing constraint between the nonce exchange and the single bit challenge response scheme? Because if you have a time delay between them, of course you can put the relay in between this nonce exchange and the real one bit exchange, because if you know the nonces, you can simply relay that to the original card, get the responses, store it on a real card, and then just replay it to the terminal again.
So there's no time constraints, and this is because the real terminal will send a nonce to the card, and then the real card will send the nonce back. If this, once this has happened, then the challenger, the malicious challenger, can only get half of the bits. And if it guesses wrongly, and it will guess wrongly because it can't see the challenges in time, then it won't be able to send the responses back.
Okay, thanks.
So another question slightly further back. So I can't hear you. Could you find a microphone or come closer? Okay.
Can this relay attack and this attacker C with a fake card, can it be done with a cash machine or only with in a shop?
We've never tried it, but I don't see any reason why this wouldn't work. The cash machines I've seen don't have any shield to prevent wires coming out the front.
I think it would be a little easier to get the timing right and to hide the cable. So perhaps it would be an idea for an attacker to use a cash machine.
Yes, because you don't need to worry about the timing. You don't need to even worry about someone spotting what you're up to.
I have a question, or better explanation. So for the real-world attack, I guess it's possible to do one attack if you find a merchant who is stupid enough to take the risk, because you can hide yourself, but the merchant can't, close the shop and go away. But for a mass attack, it's you have two problems. First of all, you must find a merchant who is stupid enough to do that mass attack, and second, the payment service provider, fraud management systems, and the payment card industry systems would track easily down that this merchant is always in charge when there was a fraudulent transaction. So in the real world, I guess there would be no mass interception because it's simply not doable. They can easily track this down, right?
The merchant doesn't need to have any records that show up that show that they were involved at the time of the transaction. So it used to be with double swipe fraud, the fraudster would swipe the real one and then swipe the card in a fake card reader. And that means that when the frauds show up, there's always that merchant involved, and then the waiter normally gets arrested. So what the waiter started doing is they gave the customer the dinner for free. So there is no legitimate transaction at that time. So the customer needs to remember where were they at that point 3 months in the past, and they weren't charged for. And I probably wouldn't remember that.
Okay, thank you.
And on the other hand, way easier, just do a refund on any card.
Sorry, what was that again?
You can reverse transactions. Just do a refund.
Yeah.
Another question concerning the PIN number on to be transmitted in clear, unencrypted. So as far as I know, in Germany, the PIN terminal only is encrypting the PIN number and comparing the result of this encryption process with the encrypted PIN number on the card. So is it different in your country?
The PIN is not encrypted in the UK because the cards there can't do public key cryptography. Okay. In Germany, the journalist for ARD interviewed Visa Germany, and they said that both types of card is being used. So if the cheaper SDA variant is used, the PIN cannot be encrypted.
Okay, thanks a lot.
Yep, there's no there.
What was the official reaction from Apex to this attack?
They said that fraudsters were not using that at the moment, which felt to me that they were missing the point, but that seemed to go down fairly well with the public.
Yeah, but that was in March, February, when you
That was in,
published this. But have they reacted
that
later
was
on?
in early February.
They haven't done another reaction in the meantime.
Sorry, what was that?
They haven't done another reaction in the meantime because it's possibly showing up in the wild.
No, we haven't done anything since then, but we are continuing to work on this topic, and if you're interested, our blog, Light Blue Touch Paper, will show the most recent work that we're up to, probably in early 2009, I think. No, 2008.
Okay, thank you.
Hi.
Hi.
Just a question. You are proposing a new protocol. Do you need to make any change to the actual?
Could you hold the microphone a bit closer?
Hello.
Yep, that's better.
You are proposing a new protocol on your presentation. Do you need to change the ISO 7613 protocol between the card and the reader, or it has to be, or you can maintain this protocol?
Most of the protocol can stay the same, so anything that's not distance critical or timing critical is exactly the same. So things like the non-being transferred can be done using standard ISO 7816. The high-speed section has to be a different physical layer because the speeds that it's running at is far, far faster than standard smart cards can currently handle.
Yeah. So you are proposing that everyone should change their reader into a new reader.
The readers change every few years anyway. So this will be something that is rolled out slowly, and then that means that once the fraudsters are actually using this technique, they'll discover that the attack doesn't work.
Okay. Do you have any plans for studying the security of the terminals?
We've certainly published this information, and we think all the terminal and card manufacturers know about it, but we haven't heard any plans of this being deployed.
But I mean, are you studying the firmware of the firmware of these terminals in order to make attacks to these terminals, or no?
Well, are you asking about implementations of it?
No, I'm asking taking a real terminal from a shop, open the device, studying the firmware inside, and checking how to hack a terminal in order to make a transaction bigger than they should be.
Yeah. No, we haven't done that, but we already have a terminal with an FPGA in it that could implement that if we thought it was useful. The more problematic one is the card, because current smart cards can't do this distance bounding protocol, so we would need to have a separate board for that.
Okay, just one last thing. I'm from Spain, and someone copied my credit card and stole a more or less big amount of money, 2,000 euros. And then I came to the bank and say, okay, I didn't make these bots in China. I haven't also never been to China, so this is not real. And they tell me, okay, they give me all my money back without any question. And I say, oh, this is so easy. And they say, look, Visa is earning 5% of all the transactions in the world. They don't care if they don't care if someone makes a complaint. They just give the money, and the people still believing in the system. Because if the people stop using the credit cards because they are afraid of them, they are going to lose 5% of all the transactions in the world. I just can't understand why the answer on your country from your bank.
Well, it depends on how lucky you are. When I was a victim of fraud, my bank paid me out quite promptly, but that's the same bank as the one who was not refunding this other customer. So it depends a lot on your luck, who you spoke to, also how you sound like. It seems that most of the people who we hear from who haven't been able to be refunded by their bank are women. It seems that men get a much better treatment from the banks. I haven't heard any from Spain, but I have heard ones from several other countries. So I don't think any country is particularly bad or particularly good in that respect. And we still get a few people a week who have not been refunded